Assalamualaikum guys. Today we would like to discuss about how to transmit data or input to a PHP script. So normally in web environment, we will be using a form, a HTML form to submit or transmit data into the server. So basically the HTML form is for the user, is a part of interface for the user to key in the data and transmit to the server. So the PHP script which reside in the server will accept the input from the HTML form, and maybe you can process or do some comparison with the database or transmit to the database. So somehow or other you need some form of communication to provide input, okay, to be sent to PHP script. So for example, this is a simple example of HTML form. So in this tutorial, we'll be trying to develop a simple form or simple HTML interface that can receive two input data, which is the username and password, and when the user click the submit button, it will be transmitted to the server, whereby inside the server reside a page, a PHP page that can process the data, and for whatever reason it will display back the data. HTML form, we have this kind of input, or what we call as element, HTML element. The name is form, the tag is form, F-O-R-M. So if you like to design a form that will contain or will trying to accept input from the user, such as the username and password, you can use form. And then the text box will be residing inside the form. But before we go to the input part, I would like to introduce you that this is a HTML form, whereby you have the name as the first attribute. Okay, this is not compulsory but slightly important. The method is the way data being handled, or the input being handled to be transmitted to the server. Method, we have get and we have post. And one more thing is the action. Action is the attribute to decide which PHP file that will receive the input from this HTML form. So a little bit comparison about the method, the form, the method. So get is basically the simple way to transmit or retrieve data by the server. Okay, so basically if you are using method get, the data or the content of your input or the user input will be visible in the URL. Okay, whereas the post method, you can actually embed the data inside the message body, so that this data will not be appearing in the URL. This post method is normally, or no, it's not normally, it's better for you to use if you are handling such as sensitive information, such as password. This is a compulsory or mandatory way in order for you to embed a file, a large file, and transmit that file to the server. Whereas if you are using get is simple input or simple data transfer, then get will be much more useful, especially if you are trying to search transaction, something like that. If you are using if you are trying to save data or you're trying to handle sensitive information such as password, better for us to use the post method. So this is the example of a form whereby you have the action display.php. The action means this particular form will send the data to another page which resides in the server named display.php, and we will be using the method get. For this tutorial, this example, the first example, we will be using method get so that we can show you how the data transmitted inside the URL. So if you are using get method, the username, the data, for example, the username or the password will be appearing inside the URL. Surely you don't want to display this data or the password inside the URL. But somehow or other, for the sake of exercise, first we will try to show you how to use get. Then later we will transform or we will change the get method to post so that you can do some sort of comparison. Okay, you can see how get and post, the way that they transmitted the data to the server. So the first thing that we will be doing is the form, okay, the login form. So previously we have this page, hello.php or something like. Okay, so let's say we have this login form. Okay, we have this login form and we change this to display. Okay, and label for username. Okay, so previously we have this file in tutorial 01. So never mind. Okay, we can do this. We have the username. Okay, change the ID, the name. Okay, the name. Okay, the name into name username. So we don't have the value yet. Okay, label for password, label, then we have label, another label, and we have the type password, ID, name. The name is password. Okay, the value, we don't provide the default value, and the button submit. Change the caption into form. Okay, this is not important. Then we have login form here, display.php username, we have username. Then we have the text box. This is the text box. This is how we create text box. We use input type text, and please provide the name of the text box. The second text box is the password, whereby you need to mention the type is password so that it can mask the data when the user type the data, the password. So name password. Okay, you can use name password, and then you have the login button. Okay, and then you have the login button. Then you must mention the tab as submit. So we have display.php, and don't forget the method for this transaction is get. So you are trying, I'll save, rename this one into login.php. Make sure to rename login.php as login.php so that you can easily locate our HTML file or our PHP or our exercise. Okay, so then we have the form, and you have the Laragon. Make sure to turn them on. I mean the Apache web server and the MySQL as database server. If you press this button, start all, it will start all the services for the web server and the database server. Then click this button to display the local host. Then you have here the login.php. So basically you only have the interface to key in, for the user to key in the username and the password. So let's say here, and then the password. Then if you press this login button, it will be sending this form or the data inside to the server, and it tries to locate the action or the file that will receive this data is defined in the action, which the server will try to locate display.php. Click login, or somehow or other the display.php does not exist yet. Okay, does not exist yet. So if we are trying to send data in HTML environment by using the method get, all the data will be shown inside the URL. This is the URL. Okay, all the data will be displayed here. So this is for the get method. So since we don't have the display.php, so we need to go back to the code editor and create another file. Okay, name as display.php. So this second file will reside in the same folder as the Laragon/www. Since the login.php is inside this Laragon/www, so make sure this second file, the display.php, also resides in the same folder as login.php. Save. So what should we do for the second file, which is the display.php? So this is the second file, the code for the second file, which basically the process is to extract the input from the user, the username and the password, by referring to the name of the input. So each input, we have two inputs. The one is the username and the second one is the password. So the name is username and the second one name is password. Okay, so this one, login.php, you need to locate that the first input name is username, the second input name is password. So for the first input, you need to run this get function, or get array variable. We call it get array variable. So we have two inputs, meaning that we need two variables. So that we can echo the value of these two variables. So the first one is username, and the second one, input name, is password. Okay, so we do some coding right now. It's in display.php. So let's say we are ignoring the HTML. So straight away we write the PHP code. So the first thing that you need is to fetch both input. Fetch both input. And the second process is to display all input content, input value. Okay, so how to fetch an input from the text box? So you need to define a variable, and then we need to use the get array variable. And inside this box, you need to mention what is the input name. So the first one is username. And then the second one is password. The password. And how to display? Previously, we have learned about the echo function. So the first value is your. And then the second line of the input is mostly the same. Your password is. So this is the first value of your input, will be displayed here, and the second one is here. The first one is the username, and the second one is the password. So let us test. Okay, let us go to something like this. Okay, we have the username, password, and this is how we display the username and the password. Okay, so we try to go back to the login form. Then you provide the username, then the password, and you click submit. Then see, the script will display the username and the password as provided by the user. So this is how we handle input through a HTML form. So here we have ABC, and the password is 123. So basically both input, all inputs can be seen inside the URL. This is how the get method works. Okay, this is how the get method works. Obviously, password is a sensitive information, and this is not the best way to handle password. Okay, so basically you need to change the get array variable or the get method into the second one, which is the post method. Okay, so this is the first way how to process your input from the user by using the form and using the get method. Okay, the second one I would like to change, okay, from the post or from the get method. Okay, because we can see the password. Basically you can see the password, obviously you can see the password. this is not the right way to handle password. So how can we hide the password? So the second way is we change the form method into post method. So the objective of post method is, one, it will not be shown in the URL. It will not be shown in the URL. So this is a better way to handle data privacy or sensitive information. Okay, so first thing, go back to login.php and we change into post method. Change into post method. Okay, this is the first step. Change into post method and back to the display.php. Display.php. You need to change this into post, and also to the second variable you need also to change to post. So when you have this, obviously you don't want to display your password. Okay, so go back to your browser, click back and make sure to refresh, reload, make sure to refresh, because you made some changes into the form or into the HTML interface. So in order to see the changes, you need to refresh, reload. Okay, this is your username. Okay, and the password. And click login or submit. Then you cannot see the password inside the URL. So this is the URL. So now you cannot see your data. The password is hidden. Okay, the password is hidden, but somehow or other it's not totally hidden, it's not totally encrypted. You still can see the data being transmitted by going to F12, the inspect tools. So most of the browser have inspect tools for the developer to monitor what is the data being transmitted. So you can go to F12, turn on the inspect tools, and you can see here the network and the password. So basically you can see the password. Still, you can see the data being transmitted, although it is via the post method. It's still visible. Actually, it's still visible. It's not 100% encrypted. Okay, so that's it. So that's the objective of today's tutorial, whereby we will we just discuss about a HTML form and how to process the HTML form using the get method and also the post method. Okay guys, thank you very much. Assalamualaikum.